What's up, guys? Welcome to Gwhisky. My name is Jeff. Now, this is a channel where I offer my thoughts and opinions on a specific whiskey, and if you stick around to the end, I'll be giving it a score as well. If that sounds interesting, hit subscribe down below. And with that out of the way, why don't we jump into our review? Today, we're looking at Dalwhinnie Distillers Edition. Stick around. So we're looking at a Dalwhinnie today. Dalwhinnie is a Speyside / Highland distillery. The distillery itself does sit in the Speyside region, but as Speyside is formerly a part of the Highlands of Scotland, it's all perfectly legal. You're totally allowed to call yourself a Highland whiskey. Now, Dalwhinnie is actually not the only brand to do this. You have other brands, most notably maybe Macallan. Macallan also calls itself a Highland whiskey. Anyway, this is the first review that I've done of a Dalwhinnie on this channel, but it's probably maybe the third or fourth review that I've done of a DE or a Distillers Edition. If you don't know, Distillers Editions are Diageo released products. They're annual releases. They come out every year, and the pitch behind them is they usually have some kind of special finish to them. Oftentimes, they'll have a pretty unique finish for these things, maybe some obscure type of sherry, special cask finish, what have you. But in the case of our Dalwhinnie here, they went with a classic. This one has been finished in Oloroso sherry barrels, so definitely a much more traditional type of sherried finish, but who doesn't like Oloroso? The bottle I've got here, bit of an older one. It was distilled in 1997, bottled in 2013, so a good 8 years ago. And it's funny, my last DE was a Talisker, and I think that one was from 2015 or something, so not sure why all my DEs are ancient, but there you go. Anyway, as with all DEs, this is based off of its core range counterpart, so we have the Dalwhinnie 15 as the base of this whiskey, and then you tack on that finish. Usually with the more recent expressions of Dalwhinnie DE, I guess they're only tacking on a few extra months for the finish to work its magic. In the case of this older one, this is actually a 16-year-old whiskey, so that finish took an extra year. Now, I think we can lump our Dalwhinnie here in with other DE expressions like maybe your Craigenmoors or your Glenkinchies as some of the lesser known DE expressions. They don't get the same hype, they don't get the same buzz as some of the other ones. Now, I don't know any of the numbers, of course, from Diageo, but I would imagine stuff like your Taliskers, your Lagavulins, your Kalillas are going to outsell stuff like, our Dalwhinnie here by a pretty wide margin. Anyway, swinging back around to our whiskey here, I should say that I'm not a huge fan of the original Dalwhinnie 15. I definitely don't dislike it. I think it's an easy sipper. It does have some nice oaky notes in there, but ultimately I find it a pretty forgettable whiskey. So let's hope that's not the case with our DE here. Why don't we hop into a review of this one, see what the whiskey's all about, and in the meantime, if you can kindly leave a like down below, that'd be greatly appreciated. Well, we are dealing with Diageo here, so let's temper our expectations. Not only that, these DEs tend to keep the same specs as their core range counterpart. So, like the Dalwhinnie 15, our ABV here comes in at 43%. This is also going to be chill filtered, and it's also going to be colored, which is sad. So our color is not natural, and the bottle is almost finished, but you can take a look at that color anyway. For the bottle itself, I quite like this one. I think it's a pretty big step up from our regular Dalwhinnie 15. I prefer the color scheme on this one. I like the blue and the gold with that cream accent there. So yeah, good presentation. Score is going to be 4.5 out of 5. We've got our year of distillation, our year of bottling. So 1997 to 2013. As I mentioned earlier, this is a 16-year-old whiskey, unlike the newer versions of the Dalwhinnie DE, which are 15 years old. Beyond that, we don't have too much info here, but oppositely, not too much fluff, not too much noise. It does say double matured on the label, but nothing about Oloroso sherry barrels, which is fine. I do like the look of the squat bottle. Overall presentation, I'd say, is very well done here. Let's try the nose. So fruity and biscuity, very yellow. We have oatmeal cookies. We have lemon lozenges. There's some Asian starfruit in here. Some golden delicious apples. We have some sultanas, some bananas in here, some light honey, some hay, and a touch of oak. Now the palate. Bright and easy. You get sherry in here, but not a dark sherry at all. Definitely on the cleaner side. You have lemon sanitizer hand wipes like you get at restaurants in here. What else? You get cream, butter, honey in here, some soft spices. There's also some dried fruits like raisins or something. And you have the faintest touch of peat in this. Now the finish. Banana pancakes drizzled in honey. We have raisins in here, sandalwood, earth, white pepper, blackcurrant jam, some white chocolate, and like toasted brown bread in here. In terms of length, short to medium. So this is a good whiskey. As is the case with a lot of DEs, I find it to be endlessly drinkable. It's very easy, it's very approachable. You have that nice, bright, clean sherry finish on the top. And you know, not all of these DEs are very well received by reviewers and critics and whatnot, but I can honestly say I've never had a bad one. They're not all amazing, but they tend to sit in the range of, let's say, pleasant to very good. And this one's actually one of my preferred ones, and I am going to recommend it to you, but I should say up front that I might like this whiskey a little bit more than you, or certainly more than a lot of people out there. If you're looking for big flavors or challenging complexity or just like a super unique profile, you're not going to get too much of that in here. It is a very solid whiskey, but it's not explosive or unique or anything like that. It's one of those whiskeys that I happen to like a lot because it suits me. Now, I usually try and justify my opinions with a little bit more finesse than that, but no, this isn't a great whiskey. It is a very good whiskey. It's definitely not reinventing the wheel, and honestly, my enjoyment of it is mostly just visceral. I would describe this whiskey as a pleasant, bright, clean, sherried whiskey that makes for a very good casual sipper. Now, I'm not sure how this compares to more recent batches of the DE, but they seem to get pretty good reviews online despite being a little bit younger than this one, so I would be interested in trying a newer batch. In the meantime, the bottle I've got here has gone down just fine. I've enjoyed every sip of it, so much so in fact that it's worth noting how consistent this whiskey's been. I've had it open for, I guess, well over a year now, and it's never lost its magic. Anyway, obviously I do like this stuff. It's going to get a good score from me. I'm going to give this one an 87. And I feel like I give a lot of things 87, don't I? Anyway, I recently did a review of the Talisker DE, also an 87 for that one. Same score, but I do think that the majority of people out there, potentially yourself included, will prefer stuff like the Talisker or, you know, your Lagavulins, those peated ones. Admittedly, they do have more unique profiles and just more stuff going on with them. Like I said, this one is not reinventing the wheel, and part of the reason I like it so much is just that it suits my palate. I mean, I guess I should probably try and explain what I like so much about this one. As I mentioned earlier, I'm not a huge fan of the Dalwhinnie 15. Decent stuff, but not great. What I do like in Dalwhinnie is the oakiness. Now, of course, maybe not all, but most whiskeys are going to have some oaky notes to them. But what makes Dalwhinnie special is that it's got this very bright, very clean, almost sandalwood type of oaky note to it that I've always enjoyed. And that note does carry over into our DE here. Not only that, I mentioned my tasting notes. There's like this toasted brown bread note in here that I find really cool. I also think the sherry finish added quite a lot to this whiskey. It's got more dimension, more layers than your standard 15-year-old. Not only that, if you go back and listen to my tasting notes, you'll find that the majority of them describe something yellow. So definitely a unique yellowish profile to this stuff, which also kind of cool. So yeah, overall this whiskey is easy and it's thoroughly enjoyable. It's not a whiskey that's going to challenge you, but I've said this before, not every whiskey needs to challenge you. You can sit back and enjoy this on a very casual, visceral level, which is what I do. So good whiskey, I think one worth recommending. So pretty good value on this one. As with all DEs, we're paying a little bit more than your standard issue release for that wine finish. Now, as someone who's not a huge fan of the original Dalwhinnie 15, I'm definitely okay with that price bump. I think this is a massive improvement. But if you are already a fan of the Dalwhinnie 15, this one is still worth checking out because you do have those extra layers, that extra complexity here. But I should say that here in Taiwan, your DE is going to be about maybe 10 to 15 pounds more than your standard issue Dalwhinnie 15, which I'm cool with. I think it's totally worth that extra price. But I've checked around online some of the international prices, and some places will have you paying double what you're paying for the original 15-year-old, which personally I think is pushing it. So depending on where you are and how much you can buy this for, buy at your own discretion. Okay, that's it for me today, guys. Thank you very much for watching. As always, hit subscribe down below, click that little bell icon, and of course, smash the like. Now, I do want to hear from you. Have you tried our Dalwhinnie Distillers Edition? How would you compare it to the regular 15? And finally, down in the comments, let me know what you want to see me review next, and I'll keep it in mind for my upcoming videos. Bye, guys.